Welcome back to Bonsai 101, where we teach you how to make bonsai and container gardening easy and fun. Today we are going to explore a style of bonsai that takes us outside of East Asia into the Far East. We learn about Japanese garden design and how to create a bonsai vignette that evokes the spirit of the Japanese aesthetic. Let's get started. There are many styles of bonsai that originated in China and then were adopted and adapted by the Japanese. The most popular being the informal upright, the formal upright, the S-curve, the tree in motion, and the literati style. However, there is one style that is uniquely Japanese, known as the landscape or yozai style. This style highlights the representation of the natural environment of the tree. In nature, trees do not grow in isolation. They exist in an ecosystem, usually in community with other plant species, and they interact with their physical environment. Rocks, water, the slope of the land, these are all factors that influence the form and function of the mature tree. Landscape bonsai seeks to recreate this intimacy between the subject and its environment. It is a celebration of wabi-sabi, the beauty of imperfection, asymmetry, and the acceptance of the natural cycle of growth and decay. Landscape bonsai can be created from almost any species of tree, but the most commonly used are conifers such as pine, spruce, fir, and larch, because their foliage remains green year-round or changes to a beautiful gold or red color in the winter months. But today, we're not going to be creating a full-on landscape bonsai, rather. We're going to be focusing on a vignette, which is a smaller version of the landscape style, emphasizing more on rocks and other inanimate objects that contribute to the hardscape of the Japanese garden. The style is often found as a component of traditional landscape bonsai, but it also has its place as a standalone art form. When creating any type of Japanese garden, the first thing that comes to mind is the famous Zen rock garden. These gardens were designed to cultivate a meditative state of mind through the contemplation of carefully arranged rocks and raked gravel. A rock garden may include a carefully placed boulder or a collection of smooth river-worn stones that invite the viewer to stroll along paths and appreciate the simple beauty of nature. In designing a Japanese garden vignette, the placement of rocks is just as important as it is in a rock garden. The concept of the three amigos or 3-in-1 is central to Japanese aesthetics. This means that when placing rocks, you want to arrange them in odd numbers, like 3, 5, or 7 rocks. This arrangement creates a sense of balance and harmony that is pleasing to the eye. Also, the placement of the rocks should be asymmetrical. Asymmetry in Japanese aesthetics is a way of achieving balance without having to mirror the composition. Instead of perfectly symmetrical rocks on either side of the container, you would have one large rock offset to one side of the container, and then 2 smaller rocks, placed in a balanced counterpoint on the opposite side. If you think of a clock face, symmetry would be the same distance between each rock on the clock, whereas asymmetry would be different distances between each rock. In addition to rocks, another element that can be included in a Japanese garden vignette is sand. Sand represents the passage of time and the impermanence of life. The ripples and patterns created by the rake represent the ever-changing flow of time. Another element that can add a lot of interest to your vignette is the inclusion of a small body of water. This could be represented by a small dish filled with water and some rocks to represent the banks of a stream or pond. This will tie in nicely with the rocks and sand and will help connect your vignette to its natural environment. Now let's put it all together. We're going to take the techniques we learned to create our own Japanese garden vignette. To start, I took a 12-inch wide by 6-inch deep tray and added a layer of pebbles at the bottom. I did this for drainage purposes as well as to raise the level of the soil so that the roots stay above the waterline. Next, I added a layer of soil, which I made by mixing equal parts peat and perlite. This will serve as the growing medium for the plants I'm going to use. Now we can start adding the hardscape features to our vignette. For this, I chose a selection of rocks and a small dish that I felt had the right shape and size for my vision. You really want to take your time here and experiment with different arrangements until you find something that works. Once you've got your rocks in place, you can fill in the gaps with some sand. The sand will help bind the rocks together and give the impression that they've been there for a long time. Then we can start adding the plants. I chose to use 3 types of plants for this vignette: a small pine tree, some moss, and a few ferns. The pine tree is the focal point of the vignette, and I wanted to choose a variety that would stay small in stature. I found this lovely little pine tree with needles that are a nice bluish green color. Moss is an essential part of the Japanese garden, and I chose to use sheet moss for this vignette. Sheet moss grows in a nice soft mat that can be easily manipulated into different shapes. Ferns are another common plant that you will find in Japanese gardens. They are a great choice for adding a sense of depth and texture to a composition. I chose to use a small maidenhair fern for this vignette. Its delicate fronds will contrast nicely with the rougher textures of the rocks and the pine branches. Now that I have my plants in place, I can finish off the vignette by adding some more sand and gravel. This will help to blend the plants in with the hardscape and create a more natural look. And there you have it. This Japanese garden vignette has been designed to evoke a sense of calm and contemplation. The carefully arranged rocks and the delicate plants work together to create a sense of harmony and balance. The inclusion of a small body of water brings in an element of tranquility and connects the vignette to its natural environment. And that concludes our Bonsai 101 class on Japanese garden design. I hope you've enjoyed learning about this unique style of bonsai and that it's inspired you to try out this technique yourself. Remember, the key to creating a Japanese garden bonsai is to focus on the natural environment of the tree and to capture the essence of wabi-sabi, the beauty of imperfection and simplicity. Until next time, happy bonsai. And remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more bonsai content. Thank you for watching.